This quest for finding our true home has been going on for thousands of years, and people have been looking for the real place of peace and harmony, which has to be a place to which we belong, where our spirit should belong, our life force should belong. In looking for that place, people have searched outside. They've gone into the mountains to look for peace. They've gone into rivers and waters and meditated there. People have performed many kinds of yogas. The net result of all these researches and searches is the ultimate answer that what we are looking for outside does not exist outside, but exists inside each of us. That if we have to find that world of peace, the world of harmony, and the world to which we belong, it cannot be found outside. It has to be found within ourselves. That is why all religions, all spiritual disciplines have said that if you want to find the truth, go within yourself, not outside. Now, when we wanted to go within ourselves, we didn't know what it meant. What does it mean to go within our own self, within our own body? When we look at this wonderful creation called the human body, we find that it has several areas which we can call going within. For example, we look out from the eyes and we can close our eyes and say that by closing our eyes, we are not looking outside, so maybe we are looking within. Or we can say that we are breathing and maybe this is the breath of life. And if we want to find something inside, we have to find out through the breath of life. Or maybe it's our heart that really beats and gives us our life. Therefore, maybe going within is in the heart somewhere. This question of finding out what is going within ourselves has baffled people, and they've tried many experiments. Experiments to go within yourself have been encouraged by some people who said they have found out how to go within. And they found out many ways of finding what's within themselves. One of the things they found out was that it's the life force, that which makes us alive, that which makes us living beings. That it must be the life force that we have to find within ourselves. And therefore, the whole thing came down to discovering what is making us alive. What is that life force that makes us alive, and therefore we are living? And if we can find out where that life force is, we can trace that and know how to go within ourselves. And this search for going within ourselves has taken many twists and turns. Just because we don't know where the life force is. If the life force can be traced directly to a particular point in the human body, we could say there it is. But since there was a divided opinion, even on whether the life force is because of our breathing, is it because of our heartbeat, is it because of our consciousness in the brain, therefore people tried different methods. And to find union with your own true self, in your true home, they call the process in the East, in India, as yoga. Yoga means union, union with your true self. To find the best yoga, people tried so many kinds of yoga based upon these three things, that either it is connected with our life force through breathing, or it is connected to our life force through the heartbeat, or it is connected because we can think and we are alive in our brain. These three methods of performing yoga have been tried out for centuries now. There is a difference in what is happening below the eyes and what is happening behind and above the eyes. Very big difference. What is happening below the eyes is the use of our energy. Our energy exists below the eyes. Our awareness, what we know, is behind and above the eyes. One function is performed with the various physical organs in this body below the eyes. Another function is performed by what is behind and above the eyes. These two are distinctly different. So let us examine what people tried to say. Let us see the energy of the physical body and how we can get yoga or union with our true self by using the energy of this body. Therefore, they defined that since we are looking at the body below the eyes, what is the most essential part that makes us alive? They said prana, breathing. Prana is a very wonderful word. Prana has been translated into so many ways. Prana means life force. Prana can be the breath of life, which is the same as life force. Prana can be the vitality of life. Prana can be the soul of a human being that makes us alive. You can give it any name. So prana was used as the method to find out who we really are within ourselves. When they associated prana with breathing, they thought the breathing through the nostrils and through the lungs could give us an inclination about what life is. So the breath of life was literally translated as the breathing of life through the lungs. And so many pranayam, that means methods of yoga using breathing, were created, and people used them. They concentrated their attention on the breathing, and variations of this took place, and so many pranayam exercises started, and people began to get some unusual experiences that are associated with their concentrating power on something within themselves, which means on the breath of life. So the pranayam that people began to perform was a method of trying to find your own self through the energy process of this body. Then there was another set of people who said it is not only the breathing, it is the entire system of energy. And the heart is at the center of it, which beats and keeps us alive. But there are other energy centers around the heart, some below, some above. And why not look at the entire complex of the energy centers in our body? And therefore they discovered that there are energy centers below the heart, starting from the bottom, the rectum, the genitals, the navel, the digestive system, the heart, and then the throat, and then the eyes. So they divided the system of yoga into 6 energy centers called the chakras, the energy chakras. And they began to find that if we were able to put attention on these chakras rather than only on the breathing, we'll get more close to our real self. And those experiences, by putting attention on these various energy centers in this part of the body, gave them unusual experiences. They were very happy that they were able to find a way of getting such unusual experiences which don't ordinarily occur in our life. They could get, for example, an out-of-body experience, that they could leave the body by concentrating within the body, by concentrating on a point within the body and energy centers in the heart, and feel they are outside the body, and they can look back on their body. Amazing. Because then they thought we are not the body, that we have in this physical body a system by which we can get out of this body and look back that we have another body that operates independently of this body. It was a great experience. So having those experiences, they thought that the energies in the body are the real secret of finding out the truth about ourselves. But then there were others who said we are only developing energy. What about knowledge and awareness? We are not getting any higher awareness. We are getting some extraordinary experiences, certainly very extraordinary, but where is a higher awareness? We are not moving any higher than we were as physical beings. as intelligent human beings, we could think the same way, we could act the same way, we could write the same way, we had the same creative abilities that we got even after doing that yoga of the 6 energy centers and discovering unusual experiences. So nothing happened to our state of knowledge or state of awareness. And thereupon, others then came up and they said, the secret does not lie in developing more energy, the secret lies in developing more awareness of yourself. So the seeking of our own true self went on further to find out what is it in the upper part of our body, in the brain section, that what is existing in the brains that can really give us some better information about who we are and raise our awareness to a new level. Therefore, they experimented with something behind the eyes. They had an amazing experience that the self, which makes us feel that we are occupying a body, the self that creates the experiences around us of the whole world, that is self really in the wakeful state of a human body is right behind the eyes. That when we look out at this world from the eyes, we can even feel that we are really, if we are not the body, but operating the body from inside, we are operating it from a point behind the eyes. So the investigation started on what is behind the eyes. The difficulty was that when we close our eyes, we don't go behind the eyes. We are still trying to look with the same eyes, and therefore we can't see because we have closed our eyes. So we are still trying to look outside, but with closed eyes we think the darkness in front of us may be within ourselves. Of course it is not. It's just the same outside, only we can't see it because we closed our eyes. Therefore a search started, can we withdraw ourselves from these eyes and look with different eyes? It did not take long for those who were trying this experiment to find out that the eyes that are inside are not the same eyes as are on the body of this physical body. That we could be looking at some other eyes. Which are those eyes? It was found out that when we imagine something, supposing we imagine something now and see it, these eyes are not seeing that. Then which eyes are seeing that imaginary picture? When we go to sleep and have a dream at night, we don't dream with these eyes, but we move around and see things. Which eyes are those? They found out that there are other eyes existing which are not connected to the physical body, but they are connected with our awareness. So they were able to discover that with a little practice of withdrawing attention, not focusing attention to which we were accustomed, but to withdraw attention behind the eyes at a point in the center of the head, withdrawing attention and feeling you are there, and then looking from the center in any direction, in front or on the side, that you could locate yourself. How do you do that? When you are looking for the eyes which we use in imagination, we can use the method of imagination to imagine we are behind the eyes in the center of the head. So they began to use this method of putting their attention on being within the head, treating the body as if it is not themselves, treating the body as if it is a house we are living in, as if it is a vehicle we are driving. It's like a car, and within the driver's seat, behind the eyes, and we can access that location by withdrawing our attention behind the eyes. So when that happened, there was another wonderful experience, an experience more wonderful than the experience people had got by putting their attention on the heart chakra or any other chakra below the eyes, and they found that their awareness expanded, that they were able to remember that they were here before this body was born. They were able to recall things that did not even relate to this body. So that showed that there is something in us that was there before we were born and will probably outlive this body. And therefore that was a big discovery, that there is something else in us, not only this physical body, not only this physical life, but there is something that has pre-existed before we were born, because we can then remember things that happened before our birth. So those things that can be remembered do not come in the category of looking out and then trying to remember, because then you can only remember what you have seen with this body. But when you remember with the inner eyes, you can remember things which were related to whoever you are inside. That's very interesting. If you want to use the same analogy of imagination, supposing you were to just imagine for a moment that you are standing here. It's just imagination. Some part of you has gone to your imaginary picture. Some of you can also imagine deep enough to say you are standing here and looking back on the audience. You can even do that. It's imagination. But that imaginary being that is there, why is it imaginary? Why is it not real there? Because all your attention is concentrated on the physical body in which you are sitting here. The physical body has been identified as our own self, as the only self. And that is why imaginary things look totally unreal and imaginary. But supposing you are able to concentrate and believe that you are that imaginary self becomes real, and the one that is sitting here becomes unreal. It's a basic experience that what is creating our perception of reality is the degree of attention we are putting into that. It's not only the reality that we see outside of ourselves, also the reality of our own body, of our own self, is being created by the amount of attention we put on it. Therefore, this is a very interesting subject of attention. What is attention? If you were to look at consciousness, that means the ability to be aware. Consciousness as the potential for awareness of anything. Then consciousness exists all the time because you have the ability to go back to it any time. So consciousness is a totality of potential awareness. Then you take out of that small slice called awareness. Then what is awareness? Only that which you are aware of at this time. Sitting here in this audience, in this hall, you can be conscious of everything outside. In one instant you can remember what is outside. In one instant you can remember your home. In one instant you can remember all the things outside. They are not part of your current awareness. They are part of your consciousness. But what you are looking at in this hall is your current awareness. So awareness is a part of consciousness that you are using here. Then within this awareness, you can look any particular area and put your attention on that. When you put your attention on something, that gets highlighted even in your awareness. The awareness is all around you, but when you want to put attention on one particular thing, then that gets highlighted. And if you concentrate your attention on that particular thing, the other area of awareness becomes dim and dim. Ultimately, you can be totally unaware if you concentrate on something. If you have gone to a musical concert, for example, and you're listening, there's so many musical instruments playing. You say, I like the drums, and you concentrate on listening to the drums alone. You will notice the drums become louder, the other musical instruments become weak. Nothing is happening there. They are playing at the same level. Your attention is picking up one and making it more part of your awareness and making the other things less part of your awareness. This is the great power of attention. According to me, this is the greatest gift given to a human being, the power of putting your attention wherever you like. And that is the great power by which you can find out who you really are and also find out what is really within yourself and what it means to say, if you want to find the truth, you go within, because you can go within with the power of attention. So this is the most important thing, that we can use the power of attention and find whatever we like. Not only that, not only do we have the power of attention, we have the power to concentrate it where we like. That means we can put more and more attention where we like. And that's very helpful, because when we put more attention, then we are able to make other things unaware and make other things disappear virtually and only concentrate on where we are concentrating our attention. The use of this method of attention was attempted by mystics, by saints, by those who were God realized, those who found the truth, who found the truth of their own home. They found the truth of what our heaven is, what our true home is. And they said, that is the power of attention placed upon our true self, within ourselves, and not in the body, not within the body, but on where the self is operating in the body. And they soon found out that behind these eyes, there is a point in the center from where we think, from where we operate in the wakeful state, and that is the point which they named the third eye, the single eye, the eye at which the self exists in the human body, the human body being a temporary cover upon that self. Having discovered that much, they were also able to learn how to withdraw attention to that point behind the eyes, and by withdrawing attention, concentrated there, whereupon they became unaware of the physical body, unaware of things were outside, and open up an awareness of your own self inside. What happened when they did that? They found that there was another self inside. A body very similar to this body, but having no mass. It was almost like a translucent kind of body, a body that looked like this one, functioned like this one, could see, could touch, could smell, could have all the sense perceptions, and yet was not physical. And that is embedded in this body all the time. The big discovery was that that body is responsible for our sense perceptions even in the physical body. That when we say we see with these physical eyes, we are not using these physical eyes, we are using the eyes of the inner body. And those eyes operate inside these, and those eyes are seeing, and we say these physical eyes are seeing. These physical eyes only obstruct some of the vision. They do not enhance that vision. So this discovery was really big, that there is something inside us that carries all the sense perceptions, and which is discoverable. It can be found by anybody by the simple process of withdrawing your attention behind the eyes to the third eye center, which lies exactly in the center of the head. If I have to speak with anatomy, it is very close to what we call the pineal gland or the pituitary body, the medulla oblongata, where it hangs just above that, in the center, between the ears, behind these eyes, at the single point. You could draw parallel lines behind these eyes and put a line between the ears where those intersect. In the center sits our own true self. And when you put the attention there, the inner body opens up and you can see it. And this was amazing, that there is a good starting point for discovering our own self in terms of awareness, not in terms of energy. That we had experimented enough with energy centers below, now we are trying to open something to enhance our awareness and discover something far more real than merely the energetic self of the physical body. So that was a great discovery, and from there started a new spiritual journey. The more you concentrated your attention within yourself, and that was the meaning of within yourself. Within yourself did not merely mean any part of the body. Within yourself meant within the conscious self that you realize you are at all times. When they found there was another body operating which had a much longer life, it could recall things that happened in previous bodies. It could recall things that have happened long ago. Then they discovered that if you now withdraw attention at the third eye center of the inner body, what would happen? The more you concentrate your attention on the inner self, it even becomes unaware. You become unaware of the inner body and the outer body and open up another one. And you find that all your thinking was taking place from there. The thinking process was not coming from the bodies, neither the physical body, nor the sensory systems of the inner body. It was coming from another part of yourself, which was the cause of all these other experiences, and that was your own mind. That was your mental body. That was your causal body, from where all causes took place. He said, that is where the people found out that ultimately it's the ultimate thinking machine inside, the ultimate universal mind, from where you discover that one universal mind created all minds and created all many. And that was a very big discovery. Not many people got to do it because people were so distracted by the affairs of this world. They were so distracted by what was going on around them, they could hardly manage that. What is our life today? Life, we are born as kids, we grow up, we forget all about our past lives if we knew anything, and we are just trained to put our attention on things outside. We get educated outside. We grow up with completely involved in outside activities. We grow, we develop relationships, we are totally tied up with things outside. We grow old, we have more responsibilities. We are burdened with responsibilities and obligations. There is no time for introspection to who we are or what we should be knowing. And we then get old and cursing everybody we die. What kind of life? But that's our life. And we are unable to get any time even, leave aside any attention to discovering the reality of who was it, what power was it that generated this experience of a physical body and generated a life around us. And why did it generate this kind of life? Why did we have a life that is separate from others? What is this karma? What is this action, reaction we talk about? No answers could ever be found. We were too involved in going through these actions, too involved in doing things that were just placed in front of us without even trying to bother that what is inside, who is operating all this system? Who is God? Who is the creator we are talking of? Where is that creator? Where is that creative power? We had no time for any of these things. There were people who said, yes, go within. And we went and heard them in temples, in churches, in synagogues, in places of worship. We went and heard their talks. They said the truth lies within. And we heard with one ear and got out, and the message was lost from the other ear. And we went about our business in the world as before. We just treated those talks, those sermons, as merely sermons for our uplift, but it never took us away from our obligations and responsibilities and our distractions in this world to discover for ourselves. What are they talking about? And therefore, we never got a chance to find out who we are. Although the message was a very simple one. Message for all was the same. And the message was so beautiful that there is something in us that is the creator of all things, including all our experiences, and it can be found within ourselves. All religions have said that the kingdom of God is within you, not outside. That the living God, the living creator, is within you, will not be found outside. They all say that. But we're looking for this outside. We go to temples, we go to mosques, we go to holy places, we go to rivers, mountains, looking for something that's inside. We carry the truth with us and run all around. They give an example of a musk deer. The musk deer has a smell of musk, beautiful smell coming from inside. The deer doesn't know it. And runs around in the garden, runs around in the forest looking for where it's coming from. Ultimately gets tired and lies down, not realizing it was carrying the truth within itself. We are like the deer. We run all around the world looking for something that we are carrying with us in our head all the time. So that is why these mystics and these enlightened people who had experiences, they came and told us that the truth lies within and lies at a precise point. The gateway to our spiritual journey is right behind the eyes. Now that's a gateway, as I said, if we concentrate our attention further within the inner bodies, no matter which body it is, we go within each one of them, we will discover each one is a cover upon ourselves. When we shed this cover through becoming unaware of the cover of this physical body or by death, the inner one opens up automatically. When we shed that cover of the sensory system, we sometimes call the astral body, the inner body, the causal self or the mental self opens up itself. When we go within that, and that's known to very few people, the mind is not the origin of this universe. It creates this universe but does not create consciousness. The consciousness that comes to have an experience of this world is beyond the mind and is lying within the mind. And you have to go more into the mind itself, discover how the mind also is a cover upon ourselves. The thinking mind is the machine that we have enveloped ourselves in order to use thinking, time, space, and have a new kind of experience. All these covers upon ourselves. The mind, the sensory system, and the physical body. These are successive covers upon ourselves to have variety of experiences. And each one gives different experiences. In combination, they give a great experience we are having now as physical selves. But when we go within, becoming unaware of each level, we discover more and more of ourselves. We still haven't discovered who we truly are. We've not discovered our soul. We've not discovered the living principle which is making us alive and making our mind alive, making our senses alive. We have not found that. To find that, which very few people, we call them perfect living masters. Perfect living masters. They have said that the truth lies even beyond the mind. That the mind is a machine, an accessory to consciousness, and just operates to create the experience of time and space, cause and effect, and therefore creates karma for us, creates all this life for us. It's not ourself. Our self lies beyond that, within the mind. Go deeper into it. When we go deeper into the mind, which we have to do with the help of somebody who is already there, it can pull us there. Because thinking stops. Thinking and any effort with thinking cannot take us beyond the mind. How can we use a particular tool that we have, the mind, to go beyond it? Therefore, all processes in which we use thinking, in which we use effort, in which we use any kind of effort, it only restricts ourselves to domain of the mind, does not take us beyond. Something must pull us beyond the mind to take us within. And that beautiful pull comes from our own self, from the soul of a human being. The soul has its own functions. Like the mind has its own function, the senses have their own function, the body has its own functions, the different parts of the body have their own functions. Similarly, the soul is performing something very different. It is something that cannot be done by the mind, senses, or the body. There are three essential things that only a soul can do, only our true self can do, neither the mind, nor the senses, nor the physical body. And those three things, the ability to have the experience of love. Love does not come from the mind. You can't think yourself into love. It just comes spontaneously. Love is a function of the soul, directly. Intuitive knowledge, intuition, gut feeling, where you have spent no time in thinking, suddenly you know. That comes from the soul, not from the mind, not from the senses. Appreciation of beauty and a state of bliss because of that appreciation comes from the soul, not from the mind. Mind can analyze, but analysis does not lead to that experience of bliss. It's the total picture that you can see, which only the soul can see. Soul's process is synthesis. Mind's process is analysis. Mind wants to break up things to see what it is. The soul does not need to break up. It looks at things in its totality. And that is why the soul, which is our true self, lies within the mind and envelops itself with the mind so it can think and have a new experience, envelops itself over the mind with senses to have a sensory experience, and then covers itself with the physical body to have a material physical experience. But the soul inside, that's our true self, which is immortal, has no life, beginning or end, and that is what we talk of as the true self, the immortal self. It can be discovered. So when I say there are people called perfect living masters, what is their role? Their role is to come by coincidence, by accident into our life. By strange coincidences they come into our life and they pull us, not by their teaching, not by explaining things, they pull us with the power of love. Because their love is unconditional. It's totally different from what we find in this world. They do not have any judgment. They don't judge. Their pull is not for the mind, it's for the soul. And our soul doesn't care for what the mind is thinking. You must have noticed that when love pulls us, mind is put aside. Our mind is so powerful, thinking machine is so powerful, and the face of the mind, which we call ego, is so strong. In everything we do in this world, the ego of the mind is in front. and just trying to say, I am doing this, I want to do this, I am going to get this, that that it says all the time, that ego is sitting in front of the mind and is the face of the mind, prevents us even from having the true experience of love. Love is pulled from behind, and when it happens, the mind begins to think and even creates doubt. The mind has a great ability to create doubt, and when it creates doubt, automatically it creates fear. So doubt and fear are created by the mind. If you have an experience, even once, of going beyond the mind and discovering your soul, you'll become fearless and doubtless forever. The doubt is being created by a machine attached to us. But we can only see these things if we can pull our attention within ourselves. What we call pulling attention within ourselves as true meditation. People have meditated on the heart center. They meditated on breathing. They meditated on the third eye center. And they have meditated on the mind. They have meditated beyond the mind into the soul. These are different steps that they have taken. But only those who have meditated on the soul and discovered that their true self is a self in which love, intuition, and bliss are part of it, automatically functions of it. And that's what true functions. They're able to see the role that the different covers upon ourselves are performing. And this is true meditation. The role of a perfect living master, who is a human being like ourselves, because we can't communicate with anybody else. Supposing we say we can communicate with an angel inside. Some people say, where we communicate with angels inside. We communicate with ascended masters who are living in the Himalayas. People tell me those stories. They are communicating with their own mind. The mind makes up all that stuff. But when there's a human being outside like ourselves and talks to us, we can't make him up with the mind. Our mind says something, he says no. Our inner self, the ascended masters and those angels don't say no to us. They never say no to us. A human being can say no. But what is the difference between one human being and another human being? Then one we call a perfect living master, and another we don't. The difference is not in their life. The difference is not in their bodies. The difference is not even in their destinies. The difference is in the state of awareness. A perfect living master's awareness has reached the awareness not only of having achieved the point beyond the mind into their soul, but is holding that awareness while he still is a human being and is talking to us. He can talk to us from any level of awareness because he has experienced all of them and discovered how they are created through the process of illusion. That every level of experience has been an experience of reality created by illusion. It's not illusion. The process of consciousness creating things is not to create illusions. It uses the process of illusion to create realities. This is our reality. We go to sleep and then we dream, and while we are sleeping, we forget this physical body. The dream becomes our reality. It becomes so real that even if we come to know in a dream, it's a dream. We tell about people in the dream, look, it's a dream. When we wake up, we discover who were we telling. They were part of our dream. So that is why we create levels of reality through this process of creation. And consciousness has been able to create all kinds of realities and levels of realities. A perfect living master is a human being like ourselves, whose awareness extends to having knowledge and a personal experience of all levels of realities, including the totality of consciousness, which is only one from where all experiences arose. Therefore, he is able to operate from behind the mind when it deals with us. He uses the method of unconditional love to pull us. But our mind doesn't like that. So he becomes a teacher. He begins to teach. He begins to teach for the sake of our mind, not for the sake of our soul. Our soul needs no teaching. Our soul only thirsts for love. Our soul thirsts for total awareness. Our soul has an automatic search for its true state. Our soul is seeking its true state all the time. It's the cover of the mind that is preventing it from happening. And the mind thinks and takes us astray, distracts us all the time. Therefore, the perfect living master who has attained this state of totality of consciousness He operates as an ordinary human being, becomes a friend of ours, and pulls us with his unconditional love, which has no judgment, no conditions. If we are good, he loves us. If we are bad, he loves us. If we love him, he loves us. If we hate him, he loves us. If we kill him, he loves us. That's the kind of love that you experience from such a person. Still, he's a human being. He's a human being like us and lives amongst us just like ourselves. So therefore, there's a indeed special quality. And how do we find one such a person? Since he is living such an ordinary life, completely like us, how can we ever find such a person? The answer is we cannot. We cannot find such a person. Such a person can find us. And that's exactly what he does. What should happen to us that such a person should come into our life by accident, by coincidence, by some kind of a circumstance? What is required in order for that to happen is seeking in our own heart for a discovery of our own true self. When we are tired of this world, supposing we are happy, we say we love this life, we are happy. Fine, enjoy. Go ahead, you're not ready for that. But if you find we have had enough of this, there is no more. We want to go back to our true state, true home. We have had enough. He will appear in our life. Actually, many teachers may come into our life depending upon where we fix our target, where we fix our goal. Our goal may be merely to discover our sensory systems, how they work. Our goal may be to find a heaven. And heavens exist in the astral plane. The inner body goes into the heaven, which we call soul. But that's not a soul, that's the inner body, astral body. If our goal is that, masters will come who can take us there, and that is their end also of awareness. If we want to go further, another master will come. Masters can come in succession into our lives. Actually, we are always having some teachers in our life. In one of the scriptures in India, they say there are 4 teachers who are all there for us. One, the mother who gives birth to us. She teaches us the most elementary things. And then comes the school teacher. Then comes the religious teacher. Then comes the spiritual teacher. That these teachers come automatically in our life. The more seeking we have, the more advanced we get with these teachers. If our seeking is for the ultimate true home, we don't want any of these higher experiences. We want to go back to our true home. Then the ultimate teacher, the perfect living master, at that point comes in our life. He comes when we are ready. In India they say, when the chela is ready, the guru appears. That means when a disciple is ready, the master appears. They don't say, when a disciple is ready, he'll find a master. The master will appear. Because he is so ordinary looking, ordinary living. The difference is not in what he looks like. Difference not how he behaves. Difference is how much awareness he has. If he has retained total awareness, totality of consciousness, and he will pull us with his unconditional love, he's a perfect living master. So these things are experienced by us gradually as we go towards our own total awareness. A perfect living master's goal is to make us exactly like himself. His goal is not to make us better people. There are lots of other people who just want to make us better people. There are thousands of teachers today in the world, thousands of spiritual teachers in the world today, trying to make us better people, to have a better life, to treat people better. They're all good. They're all doing a good job. But the perfect living master comes not for that purpose, because other people are performing that function. He comes to pick up those souls which are marked to go back, and their seeking has reached the point when they said, we have had enough of this, and therefore we want to go back home. What does he do? What method does he employ to take us back home? Here we talked of the heart chakra, the yoga of the heart chakra, the yoga of the different chakra, the yoga of breathing, pranayama. He takes us to the yoga which is the most powerful, at least the one I have found, the most powerful from my teacher, the yoga of the audible sound current, which we call Surt Shabd Yoga. Surt means attention, Shabd means the sound, Yoga means union. Putting your attention on the inner rhythm, on the inner sound, the inner resonance that can take us right down, right up to our true home from where it originates. We are not talking of any sound. We are talking of a rhythm or a resonance that exists in all human beings, all living human beings, that's connecting us directly with the inmost part of ourselves. That resonance that comes within has been described in different ways. For lack of any proper word, we have used the word with a capital W. In the Bible, John's Gospel begins with the verses. In the beginning was the Word with W capital. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. All things were made by Him, and nothing that was made except by Him. The opening verses of John's Gospel. He says in the beginning that Word was there, not ordinary Word, and that Word was God. Word was the creative power. Now you go back to another text, not the Bible, but the text written thousands of years earlier, the Rig Veda, out of the 4 Vedas of India, the Rig Veda, opening sentence, says, in the beginning was the Nad. Nad meaning the sound. The beginning was the Nad, and the Nad was the creator. The Nad was with the creator. All things were made that are ever made by the Nad. Almost a translation. It looks like it's a translation. If you look at other original teachings, they all talk of the same thing, that there is something so original. Why do they call it word? Why don't they call it power? Why don't they call, originally there was a big power that created. Because power is a small thing compared to the word. Power is a created thing. Consciousness that can create power is naturally preceding power. But how can you describe this totality of consciousness in one word? So want of words have given us these words. And why have they used word and sound and so on? Because as it happens, this creative power, which cannot be expressed at all, when it descends down, delegates to different levels of experiences, and comes down to the level of a human being in a physical body, it can be heard like music. That is why they call it the word, or they call it the sound. And this sound exists in each one of us. Nobody is without it. It's the basis of life. It is the expression of our soul itself. It's the expression of the vital self in us. And that sound can be heard. We can all hear it. How do we hear it? Put your attention on it. Where does it lie? At the third eye center behind these eyes. So when you go and put your attention there and stick with the sound, it can more rapidly, more quickly open up the inner levels of your experiences just by holding on to that sound and going with it. That is why, after experimenting with all different kinds of yogas I have mentioned to you myself, I have found this Surt Shabd Yoga, the yoga of putting your attention to the inner melody, to the inner sound, to the inner resonance, is the best to pull you in, and faster than your own effort to go in. I compare these methods with a car, American car. Some are forward drive, some are rear drive. Some cars have the power to move the traction in the rear wheels, and some have the front wheels. The rear wheels in the car push the car, and the front wheels pull the car. When we make our effort through meditation, through various means, to go within, that is like pushing the car. We can push, it's hard. But supposing somebody pulls, it's faster. The Sruti Shabda yoga based upon being pulled inside. And when we are ready and come across a perfectly master in our life, the pull of his love gradually overrides the teaching that he is giving. And we discover the teaching was only for our mind, and the pull was to take us back. I am sharing this information with you because you are seekers of the same truth, and we are co-travelers on the same path. And that is why I share these experiences with you, so that you can benefit. When you are ready and such a person comes, he will help you automatically and teach you as a teacher to satisfy your mind how to push yourself ultimately telling you, you'll be pulled inside, and this particular kind of yoga found the most useful. I hope that you will be able to find, as seekers, you'll be able to find what you're seeking and act upon the little advice that these people give us. They are very competent to give us the right advice at the right time, and their advice is filled with so much love that we are ultimately taken in not by their teaching, but by the love that they pull us with. So these are the characteristics of these perfect living masters who come into our life. I'll be very happy to answer some questions that you sent me, and then we'll break for lunch after questions, and I'll come back again in the afternoon at 3 o'clock to continue this conversation. And later from 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock, those of you who have asked for personal interviews, one-on-one personal meetings, I'll take care of that today. So we'll take up a few questions now. Dear Ishwar, can you talk about the holy feet of the Master? What does that mean? Is there an internal meaning? Yes, it's an internal meaning entirely. When you are able to meet a master or a master finds you, he accepts you, which means he finds you ready. At that time, he initiates you and he says, I accept you, you're ready, now we have to start our journey together. Upon that, he teaches some methods of meditation, and then he says, now that I have accepted you, I am going to wait for you right inside your own head, not outside. Outside I'm just a figurehead who's come to help you. My real self is inside you because the journey is inside yourself. So when you will meditate and put your attention inside, I will be waiting for you there. And there the form of the Master is illuminated, because in the astral plane things are radiant. You don't need outside light to fall upon things to see them like we did here. The things themselves, the people themselves have their own radiance. So the radiant form of your Master, the one you have seen outside in the same form, you see inside in meditation. When you see the radiance is coming, and those are the feet of the Master we talk of, and you feel so attracted to that Master, you like to fall at the feet of that Master inside. That's the meaning of the holy feet of the Master within. Do all human beings have to go through the wheel of 84 before they got the human body? Do some of us have to go through the wheel of 84, others don't have to go through the wheel of 84? Let me explain what is meant by wheel of 84. There is a list of species, of forms of life. It has been classified in some of the Indian scriptures. It says there are 8.4 billion species of forms of life in this existence, in this whole creation as we know it. 8.4 million in Indian language is called 84 lakhs. So that's why they call wheel of 84. There is 8.4 million species. The list is very long, but 5.4 million out of the list is in the plant life itself, is in vegetative and plant life. And then there are some in the insect life, in the life of mammals, birds, all other life forms have been mentioned there. In the last 400,000 lives comes one life called human life. So human life is at the end and it's at the top. In the 400,000, they've also included angels and guardian angels and even God and goddesses who created this world and whoever are existing anywhere, even God that we worship, all have been included in the forms of life. The human being is one of that 8.4. Now, this whole existence in this cycle of this 8.4 million lives is governed by a law of cause and effect. And that cause and effect is that if you do something good, you get a reward for it. If you do something bad, you're punished for it. This moral code has been introduced to create different forms of life. And therefore, depending upon what we do, what we think, what our intention is, we create the reason for these lives. And this is called the law of karma. Karma means action or intention to act, which creates this consequence, and the consequence creates all these lives. We can have very bad karma and go into insect life and plant life and then come back, eventually go through the whole progression of evolution and come back to the human life. Or we may not have that bad, and after one human life, become another human life. Or if we are able to find a perfect living master, never come back into the cycle again. Because the cycle only exists so long as we are in the mental domain of the three worlds: physical, astral, and causal. Physical, sensory, and mental. When we escape these three, there is no karma and there is no birth or rebirth at all. These are only created for experiences in these three levels. So the wheel of 84 is a reference to being born again and again in different forms of life. We don't all have to go through the wheel of life because it depends on our karma. Some can go through a few lives, some can go to no life, just jump from one to the other. Some can go back home in the single life we have here. So it all depends on our karma and our actions and intentions. I read that in the inner journey, the negative power tries to deceive, tempt, and mislead the disciple. But if the disciple is traveling with the master, how can that happen? It happens anyway. Because what is the negative power? We have to understand, why is there a negative power at all? What created a negative power? The negative power or the positive power are the creation of the same creator. It's not that there's somebody else creating negative power and there's a positive power being created by God and the God did not create the other thing. If God does not even know there's a negative power, he can't be God, he can't be a creator. All things have been created by a single source. You can call it God, the ultimate creator, you can call it the totality of consciousness. Whatever name you give to it, it has created everything, including the negative and the positive. Why has this negative and positive been created is to create a different experience of duality. There is no duality in our true home. It's all single state of bliss. But in order to appreciate that bliss, we come out of the world of non-duality into a world of duality, a world of mind that has been created here. The negative power is actually the creation in time. The creation of mind and time has been called the negative power. There is no being who is running a negative power. This function of time and mind, we call it the negative power. This has been created to hold us into this experience for forever. And that is why it tries to fight this negative power, tries to fight for every soul that wants to escape from the three worlds and tries to put hindrances into it. It's part of the game. It's part of the game to have duality. Look at this world. Could we have any experience if its opposite did not exist? Think of light, for example. Here this room has a certain amount of light. Supposing there was no darkness. Supposing there was light all the time, whether we close our eyes or open our eyes, it's always light, we would never have seen the light. We would never have known there's such a thing as light. We know about light because we know darkness. Similarly, if there was no unhappiness in this world, we'd never know what happiness is. If there was no pain in this world, they would never know what pleasure is. You will notice that all our experiences in this physical and mental worlds is based upon pairs of opposites. This is the world of duality. And the pairs of opposites have been created to have this kind of experience. So it's a design thing that happens like this. Therefore, it is not unusual for seeing the power of the negative power in the world in which we are living now, the world of duality we are living now, when we are ascending in our consciousness to a stage beyond the negative power. It's an experience designed to be part of our journey. So the journey becomes interesting. People like to have a journey which is exciting. Otherwise, how would you enjoy it if it was only one thing continuously? Therefore, it's made the journey more interesting by ups and downs. So is life like that. Human life is always like ups and downs. Nobody has a life which is always high. And nobody has a life which is always down. You look at our own lives, we all had ups and downs in it. Sometimes high, sometimes low, sometimes pain, sometimes pleasure. This is a combination. There are portions of creation which are all good times. They're called heavens. They exist in the astral plane. People who try to do everything good, they spend little time there. There are places which are terrible. We call hells. Also in the astral plane. People who are doing all bad things, they go there. But to come to a human life, we have to have a combination of the two. It's a good combination because the power to seek, the power to have a free will to feel we can seek, only exists in the human life. All others are programmed lives. And that is why it's good that we have this mixture. And the mixture continues in our spiritual journey also. So there's nothing wrong with it, just designed. You mentioned karma is in the mind. And it is the environment, culture, and society which determines our morality. In that view, a sociopath who kills without conscience, does he not create karma because he does not believe in wrong? Not a question of believing in wrong. We have part of our mind dedicated to handling morality. It's part of the game of the mental plane that we set aside a part of our thinking machine and call it conscience. Apart from consciousness, we call it conscience. And we assign it a role. We assign it a role of determining our morality. It is trained by society. And trained by society and holds all its data from the environment it's picking up. So if the environment says it's wrong, doesn't matter if sociopath or any. He is doing something which his conscience is saying is wrong, but he is reasoning himself out and not doing it. They were still creating karma. So the conscience works very independently of this. And it's part of this function of absorbing the environment, absorbing what is the rules of society laid down. And that is why whatever the current rules, a moral code is, it's imposed through the conscience of a human being and functions there. And the karma is being created from that conscious morality and not necessarily from somebody saying, oh, I don't care for this and therefore I can do it. What happens if the master dies before the initiate manifests the radiant form? When a master accepts us, which means initiates us, which is a form of acceptance. It's just a formal thing. The acceptance is inside. When a master with his consciousness, totality of consciousness says, I accept you, he manifests himself in you at that moment. And the radiant form is there forever after that. Forever, not necessarily for this physical body, forever. And the radiant form stays with us throughout the spiritual journey, unlike other spiritual attempts that we make with our own self, in which there is no master. But when we have a master with us, he manifests at the very moment of initiation. If he dies, he's still there. And we can have him inside, talk to him 24/7, exactly like you talked when he was physically alive, in fact, more alive when he is dead, because he is right inside. And at all moments, he can be seen inside and outside. It's a great experience to manifest once during meditation, the radiant form of a master, and the master is always with you, and you have a great companion. It's the greatest friendship that I can express to you, to have the radiant form of master, who's always with you, is the friend always with you, continuously, 24/7, and therefore never lost. So even if the master physically dies, the radiant form does not. What is the difference, in truth, between a mentally ill person who experiences hallucinations, hears voices, and believes the distortions of their mind, and the initiate who experiences glimpses of the beyond? Pretty close. That is why some people who have had these inner experiences, when they talked about it, people call them crazy. They call them as crazy as those who are having hallucinations. And they are indeed crazy compared to the norms of people who think the external world is the only reality. They live in the external world. This is the only reality they have. They can't think of any other reality. If somebody started talking of something he's seeing, they say he's crazy, he's foolish, crazy person. The difference between one who hallucinates and one who is having an inner experience is the one who hallucinates does not have the wisdom to know it's hallucination or not. He thinks it's reality. The one who is having inner experience knows the distinction, has the wisdom to distinguish between what is happening in the physical world and what he is seeing. Therefore, he keeps his mouth shut. From what diseases does the astral body die and how does the causal body die? The causal body does not die of any disease. It dies a natural death of its life, which extends to almost 3 billion physical years. So one mind that we have is good for almost 3 billion physical years, and so we can have several astral bodies and several physical bodies with one mind, carrying the same impression from birth to birth. It only dies at maturity. The astral body can die of a disease which is carried by a physical body. It can carry itself into the imaginative world of the astral body, and it can end itself. But the normal life of an astral body is between 1,000 and 3,000 physical years, and therefore it dies its natural death also. It only dies from so-called disease if the disease is being picked up to pay off karma of a physical body. When we say we have a karma, that means we have done good and bad, and we have to be rewarded or punished for that. It can be done in the physical world, it can be done in the dream world, it can be done in the astral world. So karma can be paid off even in the astral world. And that is why when a person picks up a disease to pay off karma in the astral world, it appears he can die of that disease, which was a physical disease, but was taken up to pay off karma in the astral world, and that may be the end of the astral life also. As karma unfolds, how does one know when he has atoned for what he has done and the karma is over? I'm sorry to say that the karma is never atoned. I'm sorry. People want to believe that they can atone for karma. It's not atonement for karma. Atonement itself is good karma. If you do something bad, you're bound to be punished for it. If you do something good, you're bound to be rewarded. It's a very relentless law. The law of karma is the most amazing law. I could talk for an hour on the law of karma itself, how it operates. If you do good, if you do exceedingly good, you can go to heaven. Shortly after that, you do exceedingly bad, you go to hell. Even after going to heaven, you go to hell. It is so extreme. The law of karma is relentless. And when you atone for the karma, it's a good action and you get rewarded for that. Both take place independently. So there's no point at which you can say you have got out of the law of karma by atonement. If that were so, it would be very easy. You atone for all karma and go back to your true home. The law of karma is so rigid, and that is what is the greatest trap, which has trapped us over here. That we do good and we are trapped here, being rewarded. We do bad, we are punished here. We are being punished over here. We can't get out of here. So long as karma is there, we can't get out of here. It's only when we can go beyond the mind, with the help of a perfect living master, that karma ends. There's no other way to end karma and say it is over. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. I'll join you again at 3 o'clock, and tomorrow we'll have a continuation of these. And any more questions which are left over, or any more questions you have, you can give them to Ines or George, and we'll take them up later. I'll see you at 3 o'clock again.